Hey, welcome back. Business 150, Introduction to Management. We are continuing in this module as we look at the topic of managerial control. And as you can tell from this title slide, in this video, we're looking at the topic of operational control. One of the key and primary places where managers place control processes. When we say operational control, what we're really talking about is the direct control over production. Operations being used as sort of a synonym for production. So no matter whether you're delivering products or services to your customer, you have to have control in place to most directly affect delivering consistency. So we hope that after this video, you will be able to describe operational control in production environments. Now, you can see here from this slide, operations control regulates one or more individual operating systems within an organization, which is kind of a generic way of essentially saying, look, if you have production systems in place, you have to have control over them. And quite frankly, most companies practice these three basic forms of operations control. And again, this is whether your company or organization is producing products or services. So let's take them one at a time. First, preliminary control. What is that? That's control that monitors deviations in both the quality and the quantity of the organization's inputs. So the raw materials that are coming in. And you're monitoring that with the objective of preventing deviations before they enter the system, right? If you are making leather shoes, you want to make sure that the quality of the leather you're using is consistent. If you are making Toyota automobiles, you want to make sure that the windshield glass and the type of metal and all of the inputs, right, that you have quality, an acceptable level of quality with the raw materials before they ever make them into your assembly line. Number two, screening control regulates your product in the middle of the transformation process to ensure that it's consistent with your objectives. Think about it. If you're building automobiles, then this is basically taking a sample of some of the units that are midway through the production line to make sure that everything is being built according to the quality that you're looking for, right? So there's screening control in the middle of the transformation process. And then number three, post-action control, sometimes known as feedback control. Post-action control monitors the finished output. And so, for instance, if you are, I don't know, Nike making shoes or Apple making smartphones, you may sample 1 out of every 10 units that comes out to make sure that it has acceptable quality. And you see that the last note on this slide, in practice, most companies use all three of these forms simultaneously. Now, this is a little diagram that I have from another textbook I use. It's not in our textbook, but I do find that this little diagram does a good job of demonstrating for us what we're talking about when we look at, for instance, the three teal or turquoise boxes at the top. And that, of course, is your production process, taking raw inputs, putting them through the transformation engine in order to create outputs. And you can see where the appropriate type of control is applied. Preliminary control is the raw materials, the inputs, before they start being transformed into finished goods. Screening control is focused on the inputs as they are being transformed into outputs, someplace in the production process. And finally, post-action control is a focus on the finished outputs before they're delivered to the customer. And you can think about this for any product that you're making, right? Let's take, for instance, a laptop computer. If your company's making laptop computers, then preliminary control checks out the raw components before they enter assembly, right? The CPU chips, the status of the memory chips, the displays that are going to go into your laptop, right? Transformation is somewhere in the middle. You're checking, for instance, perhaps the chassis of the laptop when the screen is put into the clamshell hinge that will take up the top half of your laptop, right? Just checking to make sure that assembly is going the way it's supposed to be. And then finally, the output, post-action control, takes perhaps, as I mentioned, 1 out of every 10 or 1 out of every 20 finished laptops and takes it right off the assembly line, makes sure that it powers up, makes sure that the battery is installed correctly, so all those kinds of things, right? And now I've mentioned again and again, examples of producing product, but the same is true with the production of services, right? So for instance, preliminary control as opposed to as applied to services is perhaps checking to make sure that your service personnel really do have the qualifications, the skills, the understanding of how to do what they do in order to deliver your service. Transformation or screening control is as folks are in the middle of providing that service, you're providing some level of control and checking in to make sure that everything is happening satisfactorily. And finally, post-action control would take the form, for instance, of a survey of customers to see how many are satisfied with the service they received. And so you can see that these three forms of operational control can work with both products and the delivery of services. So we hope that this short little video has been helpful for you to understand the three fundamental stages of operational control. No matter if you're delivering products or services, it's important to keep control and monitor the consistency and the quality you're delivering to customers. All right, I hope that's helpful. And as you think about operational control, it's the first real example of real-life control that we're giving you in this module. More in the next video, and we'll see you there as we talk about financial control.